Ready to go live. You are live. I'm live. I'm alive. I'm here. Get used to it. Hey, did I get you? There's no rants here. There's no ranting going on. There's no anger going on. We'll see how many extra views this one gets. And then we'll see if anybody makes it past 25 seconds. So I've picked up a bunch of things and I've read a bunch of things this weekend. Clearly I'm jonesing already. It's only been a week since the last hangout with Dr. Monkeybot and Larasa, and clearly I miss it. So there's stuff that I want to talk about, and with this kind of stuff, I like to talk about it when it's fresh in my mind. So I thought I'd go live, see if anybody's around to kind of hang out in the chat. If you are watching and you are wanting to jump on, let me know. I have my Twitter open as well. I can always cut and paste the link. But so this is just talking about a bunch of stuff that I've read, and then a couple of things that I've picked up that I haven't stuck into yet, that I haven't tucked into yet. Some great reads this week. One of the things I did, I sort of reorganized some of my shelves because I have room in these cubes that I'm looking at for like 2 layers, especially paperbacks and stuff can fit behind, and then the bigger books and comic stuff can fit in front. So I sort of did some reshuffling and reorganizing. And while I was reorganizing kind of the inevitable stacks of comics that, as you can see, end up on top of boxes here, found that I had picked up a while ago now, the last 2 Legend of Kamui from Eclipse. So they were very quick reads. So I sat with them, and again, like tucking into the last issues, it's not like there was a big groundbreaking ending by any stretch, but tucking into these issues again, it was just a nice reminder at how much I loved this series. 37 issues from Eclipse. At the end of issue number 37, they do talk about Viz and Eclipse parting ways, but Viz will be putting out some stuff, some manga, and Eclipse will as well, and that Kamui was going to end up somewhere still being published to kind of continue on with the rest of the stuff, to my knowledge, and I'm going to have to do some digging. To my knowledge, that didn't happen. But seriously, the action sequences in this, and the tension, and the amount of limbs and blood and all sorts of things that happen in this. I love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, Chaos. Yes, absolutely. I'm not here for the rants, but for the Liefeld Comic Hall, you're bound to one day show. Absolutely. It'll at some point, you just know what's going to happen. And there's no ranting. I don't know if you caught the beginning. I just typed that in just cause. There we go. So yeah, highly recommended series. Really, really well done. There's first, like the whole thing has been a great read, but those first handful of issues, with kind of the beautiful art of kind of the surrounding nature and things, incredible stuff. I'd love to read some more. Just in case I didn't say the name, Sanpei Shirato is the creator's name. And then last night, I read a stack of some of the new things that came through the door, and loved every single one of them. Storyteller Ghosts. This is issue 4 of 4. Sorry, my butt is vibrating here, and I realize I'm sitting on my phone. So this is 4 of 4 of the Ghosts Storyteller run. Again, I don't want to repeat myself too often, but it is really recommended. The thing that kind of stuck with me with this one is this kind of like folk tale type of storytelling that happens in these. It feels like you're really visiting other parts of the world. Just looking in the front cover to see if maybe that's maybe stated, and it's not, but that's how it feels with this one. This one is about an old woman trying to get home to see her family before her light runs out, because in the darkness are these creatures, these spirits who are kind of doomed to roam the earth. And they'll come for you if you're in the dark. Really simple story, not a tough read, but really, really nice. I really like that one a lot. I think that was probably my favorite issue out of the 4. This one, this Batman, the adventure continues. It's not a deep read by any stretch, and I'm not saying I need a deep read. It's clearly just hitting all the marks. Every single issue, we get some characters. This one, for example, we start off with Catwoman, and then Azrael comes into the picture. And then we get, let's see here. We get the Penguin, and we also get a little bit of everybody's favorite, or at least it should be from the animated series, Mr. Freeze, because of the way they dealt with him in the animated series. Amazing. So this really feels like let's just hit all the best of and make sure that everybody gets a chance to make an appearance in the book as kind of like a throwback. So it's just a fun read. Yeah, I mean, I get them because I'm an enormous fan of Batman the Animated Series, the Justice League stuff, Batman Beyond. I've got a box set of Batman Beyond. I've got all of the Batman animated series. I'm a huge fan. And then I've got a ton of the comics as well, too. It's some of the comics when I was getting rid of a bunch of stuff, I couldn't get rid of those because they're just so much fun. And this is the same, like this delivers. If you're coming into it expecting something brand new, you're reading the wrong book. This delivers exactly what it should, which is, like I said, kind of the hits of the show and bringing those characters back. So you can relive in your mind, wow, that was a great episode. Wow, that was a great one. And, probably go and buy the box set if you don't have it already. And then finally, I read issue 2 and 3 of The Goddamned. This is it's one of the good things about not going every single week. When I do go, sometimes there's a couple of issues back to back that I'm behind on. So holy hell, man, this is great. These 2 issues were completely badass. The 2 main characters, the 2 main girls, have now gotten farther and farther away, supposedly from where they originated. And have these women that have chased after them. A whole bunch of violence has ensued, a whole bunch of blaspheming. It's really, really great. I love the gritty, dirty, not shitty isn't the right word, but I want to say like shitty art, even though it's not shitty art whatsoever. It really has this kind of grittiness to it. And I absolutely love it. It's really, really great. And I mean, I'm not surprised because I loved the first run as well. I loved the first miniseries, but I'm fully in on this one. And it really just feels like it's going to get darker. Hey, Chris, it feels like there's going to be, I'm hoping it's not super unsettling, seeing as it's focused on these 2 young girls. But it really does feel like it's only just begun. I don't know how many issues that one was going to go. What else did I read from this pile that before we get into looking at what I picked up? Oh, yes, here it is. Let's get to this one. So I went to the flea market today. And yesterday we went to Red River Bookshop, one of the places in town that I absolutely love. And someone was there who wanted to go upstairs. So the upstairs portion, he owns the entire building. The upstairs portion is only open once a month. They have very minimal staff working there. So when it is open, they get someone extra on for the day so they can spend the day upstairs. And upstairs is where he has stuff that's maybe a little more expensive, some of the older books, a lot more graphic novels, a nice sized European section. It's not huge, but there's a few books in there, some French comics, and it's great. I mean, it's a chaotic space in general, but the upstairs is pretty great. There's no sales on stuff upstairs, so everything on the main floor, the more you buy, the more discount you get. I think it goes up for every $10. I think so. For $10, I think you get 10% off. You spend 20, you get 20% off, et cetera, et cetera. So you end up getting you can get some really good deals there. So there was a woman there who wanted to visit upstairs, and they were going to bring her up. And of course, I was there. So they said, hey, if you want to come and poke around up there, that's fine. So I picked up a few things. And one of them that I was really excited about that I read yesterday afternoon was this Escape from Suburbia by Kaza from NBM, a great reprint company. The Dargod edition, Stories of the Fantastic. So it's Nantier Beale Minoshin Publishing Company from New York. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but there you go. And this was even better than I thought. I don't know much of Kaza. I've seen pieces here and there. And he's always kind of been that guy that's sort of like Mobius, you know what I mean? The guy that has a similar style to Mobius and inserts himself in his short stories. This was a fucking fantastic read. I was hooked right from story one, which was called the Homo Trashians. And it's all of the stories take place in the suburbs, most of them within kind of these apartment blocks. So this first one takes place in this apartment block with the idea that, you know, you have the little garbage chute and you don't give any thought as to what's happening down in the basement as things are bubbling and gurgling away, waiting for the prime moment to kind of form into a being that's eventually going to take over the world. So our main character, Kaza, goes down to check out what the hell is going on after some disappearances of people. And he sees all the garbage. And as the Homo Trashian is telling his story, Kaza's picking his nose, flicks the booger into the pile, and that's the final thing. That's the final straw that brings the being to life. And it's completely ridiculous. But every single short story is really entertaining. And some of it is extremely cartoony, stuff like this. And he's playing with, you know, this repeating elements, climbing up the stairs to the next level and running into themselves and then climbing up and climbing up. And then there's some kind of slightly morbid ones as well. For example, this one where there's some noise coming from upstairs, finds his broom, taps on the ceiling, only to discover that it's his grave, and he pokes his head out of the grave of his tomb there. This is Escape from Suburbia by Kaza from Stories of the Fantastic, put out by NBM, or the English edition by NBM. The Dargod edition is 1982, and then this volume is 1987. And like I said, phenomenal art. Where's the other story that really stood out to me art-wise? I mean, they all do, I gotta say. This is one that really jumped out at me as well, too. Beautiful colors as he's underwater. There was one where he decides that he's going to paint his room, and it reminds him of outside. Here we go. Reminds him of being outside. So he wakes up in the morning, is kind of transported to the just outside. And this panel here. So he gets really excited, starts taking off his clothes and jumping around till he slams into the wall and is brought back to the reality that he's living in a building downtown. But the colors on those pages are really nice as well. So yeah, I don't know how easy this stuff is to find. I mean, here where I'm living, it's not easy to find at all. But highly recommended if you do see it, or if you're the type of person who wants to order online. Okay, so that's what I've read, right? Yeah, I haven't tucked into any of this other stuff. So the rest of this is the last few things that I picked up from Red River yesterday. And then today we went to Mulvey Flea Market to see Greg because I haven't seen him in a long time. And usually when I end up going to see him, it's to pick up books. And I don't really have a chance to kind of dig through what he has at his booth there. And I know some of the other comic addicts guys who used to be at the other flea market have moved to this new one. So I was going to visit them, ended up not doing that, hung out with Greg instead and dug through his bins, found a couple of things. And as usual, he's a hell of a guy. So he gave me a really good deal. Hello, Sama. So this will be a mix of those two places for a measly, a paltry $2. Secret Six #4, which is one of the issues that I'm missing. I only have a few of these. I don't go out of my way to hunt them down, but it's always been a comic where the covers have really jumped out at me. So the main reason I was collecting them at first was for the covers. And then years ago, there was a couple of people, I think Travis being one of them, Oddfellows Thoughts that were, and I think Costin Bromstar as well, used to rave about this one. So when I see them for cheap, I pick them up. Yeah, that's where I've seen him as well too, Sama, a Heavy Metal magazine. And I don't know if these stories in that collection were first published in Heavy Metal. I'm guessing they were, seeing as they were short stories, but might be worth going through my back issues again to see what else I've got of his. Not quite Liefeld there, Chris, but I did find the graphic novel collection, the Demon Bear Saga. It collects issues, was it 18 to 21? It doesn't say on the back. He had it written on the back of the bag and board that it was in. Yeah, issues 18 to 21. So, and I mean, there you go, Sienkiewicz, right? So that's why I'm picking this up. And this cover is phenomenal as well. Like, look at that back cover, is really great. So that'll be a good one to read. I've got one or two of the issues of his run. I'd like to compare it. Just flipping through it, like it's rare that I'm a fan of recoloring, and this appears to be something that has been recolored. And I generally don't like it when they recolor it. I mean, I like no asterisks yet, Earl Grey. Good timing. I like the original from the comics, right? So it's one of those things that when I pick up these kind of collected issues, it just jumps out at me because I flip through it and I'm not a fan of the coloring whatsoever. But the art, on the other hand, absolutely. And then another one. So Earl Grey being here, there's two things that have been on my radar. It feels like they've popped up quite a bit for me lately, and I'm not really sure why, but it feels like it's a sign, and I have to. Yeah, it looks glossy for sure. Yeah, it absolutely looks glossy. It feels like it's some of those things that maybe this is because I should try it out finally. And this one that I got today, Steve Canyon by Milton Caniff, issue #1, he had. For some reason, I'm seeing it all over the place lately, and I don't really know why that is. I'm guessing that maybe that means there was some bigger collections that just came out recently, maybe some hardcover editions. I don't really know. Usually that seems to be the way that it goes when these things pop up. But this one, when the price was right, I love the cover. I don't know much about the character. Flipping through, it looks fantastic, and I know it's just one of those guys that people rave about. So because it was dirt cheap, I figured I'd give it a shot. So a collection of strips. I don't know anything about these Fantagraphics collections. It is Fantagraphs. Oh no, sorry, kitchen sink collections whatsoever. I'm assuming they'll go chronologically. I'm guessing they go right from the beginning of the strip. I don't really know. I guess we'll find out as we get into it. But I do love that cover, and I do love drawings of women that look like that with heavy eyebrows, and everybody looks really stern. Even flipping through it, everybody's got a very serious expression with downturned eyebrows, and you know. How can you say no to that? That's pretty badass. So yeah, there you go. So that's one. Steve Kenyon has been published by the Library of American Comics, IDW. Okay, well, there you go. Some meter of shelf space. And then the other one that's jumped up a lot in videos, and then recently Earl Grey did a spotlight on it, is Asterix. So when I went upstairs to Red River, they had they had about 10 or 12 albums. So I just picked two. I think these were like $3 a piece. I think one was $3 and one was $6. And then he gave me a bit of a discount on it. So Asterix and the Black Gold, which I think was one that you showed. I think this might have been the last one with the original creators. Is that right? If I'm remembering your video there, Earl? Mr. Gray. I haven't tucked into these yet. I had a quick flip through. And again, like I've spoken about before, these were in my school library. I remember them from when I was a kid. And I think a couple of I wonder if I picked one up. Yeah, here we go. So this one, for example, has been retaped, and it's Frontier School Libraries with some writing inside and etc. Yeah, so $3 for this one, taped spine and everything. So, and then this one is Asterix in Corsica. So I'm looking forward to these. This is going to be fun to sit and read. Yeah, no, Kitchen did a really good job. And then also with the spirit stuff as well. Dennis Kitchen did a great job with classics like Steve Canyon, Batman strips, Little Abner, etc. Yeah, and it really seems like, especially at that time, there might not have been a lot of that stuff reprinted. I mean, Fantagraphics was probably doing it as well too, but it feels like that was early days of reprinting that stuff. And then a couple of more things I found at Red River. Again, just kind of, now that I'm not reaching the end, but I'm getting pretty damn close. I feel like I keep saying I'm about 100 comics away, or comics or magazines or collections away from having kind of the Eclipse Comics publishing house. Pretty much everything. There's some things that I'm not shooting for. There was signed and numbered editions of things, for example. I'm not going for those. I'm just going for the basic run of stuff. So in that Eclipse Comics vein, I found 2 volumes of Zorro by Alex Toth. Not a huge Zorro fan. I can't say that I'm a huge Alex Toth fanatic. I know the name and I've seen some of the art. Flipping through this, it looks fine to me. It's not something that on first look blows me away, but sometimes with this kind of stuff, as you start reading it, it kind of opens up for you. So this was a really nice find, because now I find with the Eclipse stuff that I have left to collect, it's stuff that I just don't see anywhere. So when I see it, I grab it right away, no matter what, because it's not stuff that comes up. I don't know if I've ever seen these Zorro collections before. I have one other book. So I think what they did was they did a few volumes. I want to say that it was possibly 3 volumes, and I'm looking at my shelf to see if I see the other one, of reprints. And then I think there was another couple of books where it was new stories, and I'm not seeing it anywhere near here, unfortunately. But I do know I have another Zorro collection, and I believe it's kind of newer Zorro stories published by Eclipse. So there's volume 1. Oh, and then volume 1 also has an introduction by Howard Chaykin, Mr. Chaykin himself. And then volume 2, same thing. Oh, Paulo Costa, how are you? And then volume 2, the same thing. Complete Classic Adventures by Alex Toth. Oh, hey, look at that. Although he received no formal credit for these comics during their initial publication, Alex Toth's Zorro episodes from the late 50s and early 60s are now considered a milestone in the history of graphic storytelling. So there we go. And we'll have a quick quick flip through this as well too. This one is very low on the pile of things for me to read, but I will give it an attempt. It's just not a character that appeals to me a great deal, that I feel like I have to dive right in. But it's great to have those collections. They're in really good shape. And then finally from today, Greg at Mulvey had a few of these, and I don't think I've seen them before. I'm going to pull it out of the bag. He's telling me that he thinks there was 6 of these. This issue is from 1973, and it's issue 4. John Pound, I think it was John Pound on each of the covers. He had about 3 issues of this. So Ancient Sorceries from Fantasy Classics. This is Fantasy Classics issue number 4, and it is a collection of stories. And from what he was telling me, what Greg was telling me, that the idea of this series was that it was the firsts. So it was like the first werewolf story, the first Dracula story, that type of thing. So what do we have in this one? So there we go. We get a little bit of a first page talking about each of the stories. And then there's illustrations throughout as well by a variety of artists. I'm not sure if... doesn't say that John Pound does any of the interiors. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic cover. And then wrap around to the back there too. Really nice, like really heavy cardstock cover. Each of the pages are really beefy as well. So this looks pretty great. I'll probably sit and have a flip through and a read of this one this afternoon. It started raining. I was going to do some work outside for a bit, but it started raining, and the side is a mud pit as it is. Adding rain to that equation doesn't sound like fun, so we'll probably just stay in and do some reading this afternoon. And like I said, I think he had 3 issues of this, so this was the cheaper one out of the ones he had there. So why not, man? Give it a shot. And I'm sure... here we go. Let's go to this one. So this is The Vanguard of Venus by Landl Bartlett. See if we can find some other bits of art in here. Yeah, it's in really, really nice shape. There we go. And then The Hand from the Deep by Romeo Poole. Really, really great illustration there. So yeah, something a little different. He was telling me, oh, here we go. So he had this one there as well, this issue. Next issue for Fantasy Classics 5, The Jewel of 7 Stars by Bram Stoker, with another killer painted cover. He was telling me that... oh, hey, look at that. Sorry, I keep starting a thought and then getting distracted. So there's kind of a look at each of the issues there. Classics 2, 3, and 4. He was telling me that I'm part of his mailing list. So as he's kind of cataloging his collection that's for sale, or not necessarily his personal collection, but when he buys comics, he's got quite a bunch of stuff for sale. He's just about finished putting together his magazine and fanzine list. So he's saying that hopefully in the next few weeks or so, he'll have that ready to email out. And I'm really excited about that because, I mean, he was my go-to for a while for, he helped me fill in a lot of gaps of Comics Journal. And because he's kind of been involved with comics and specifically Styx Comics here in town, that's not fitting in there, so I'm not going to struggle with it. I'm hoping that there's some real gold mine there as far as kind of those older fanzines. I'd love to get my hands on some more of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's about it. Hopefully next weekend, Rasa and I are going to get together. I was trying to see if we could do it today, but she's not feeling 100%, so it's not going to happen today, which is why I'm here solo. But next weekend, probably on Sunday, pardon me, we'll do a hangout, and I'll have a bunch more stuff read by then, and I'm hoping there's a few more bits that have come through in the mail. Thanks very much. Let's see what was going on while I was chatting. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing Alex Toth in Portuguese black and white magazines, probably from Editoria Futura. I'll have to check. They're not easy to find. Had a similar feeling with Toth. Great art, but aside looking at the art, I haven't read it yet. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where it's going to be for me as well, too. And it doesn't feel like classic Toth, right? Like when I think of Alex Toth, it's kind of like the later era stuff where he found kind of his unique take on things, I guess. It doesn't shout out at me anyway. It doesn't scream out, read me. That's for damn sure. But who knows? I could be completely surprised. Oh, nice torpedo. Yes. I've got a couple of singles there. He was surprised Portuguese people read in English. Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Thanks for hanging out. Earl Grey, Sama, Paulo Costa. Who else popped in? That was it. Oh, no, and of course, Chaos and Comics. Thanks very much for hanging out with me for a half an hour, and we'll talk to you next weekend. Later.